Our superintendent from Janesville.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. I'm going to have Brett Berg go live actually to our dashboard so you can see it on our website in Janesville. So as he's setting that up, let me just talk a little bit about, first of all, the question that I'm to answer this morning, and that is, why would a superintendent implement an evidence-based leadership model? Wait a minute, let me say that another way. Why in the world would a superintendent implement an evidence-based leadership model? Where are my superintendents here? Raise your hand. Is our job not hard enough? When I signed on for this, it's not what I expected. It's a very difficult job. So, evidence-based leadership, as we already started to hear this morning, is about a higher level of scrutiny in what you do on a day-to-day basis. You know that, don't you, Jill? It's about more transparency and more accountability. And so, we're going to expose ourselves to that, to people, to board members who really are not from the education model. So they really don't know education. Our communities typically don't know about education. Yes, now everybody did attend school for the most part at some time in their life, so I know people are experts at that. But we are going to make ourselves accountable to folks that aren't really educators. So why in the world would I go ahead and embrace this? Well, let me tell you, the rewards are really quite sweet. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. I'm not talking about the money. I'm not talking about extra bonuses or extra salary. I'm not even talking about the plaques, the trips, different things that have come about that I have never expected as a superintendent. This past year, we won 7 awards, 3 national and 4 state awards. And what people have asked me, and they said, Karen, how many of these did you apply for? Well, none of them. They just came. And sure, it was great. It was fun. It's kind of the icing on the cake. But we're all educators, and I think you know this, that in our heart, we want to see kids succeed. That's the reward that we get every day, and we wouldn't be doing this if that wasn't important to us. And so I have seen, and I'll show you some of the things that we've done, but I've seen through this process the ability to really move our school district on that path to excellence. I've seen our student achievement rates rise. I've seen incredible, magnificent work done at our schools. We have our 2 high school principals representing us today, Wade, Allison, and Chris. I have seen them do probably the hardest work of their life, but I've seen the culture of our high schools change. I've seen rigor and relevance being added to the curriculum. And I just have hope. I really have hope for the educational process through this model. So let me just show you a couple of things. This is our dashboard. So if you go on the website, and you can all do this at some point, for the School District of Janesville, you can see our dashboard for the 12-13 school year. And to me, this is critical. This is the focal point of what we do. It's the board and the superintendent come together and we set our goals for the year. And so we did that a couple of months ago. And it's really the superintendent bringing the goals to the board. And then the board looks at them and tweaks them some. Usually doesn't change them radically, though we've had a goal or 2 that's been changed here and there. And it doesn't change that much from year to year because we're about student achievement. We use our state test to measure, and so that has stayed pretty stationary. We set our goals by our pillars, and we chose to have 6 pillars in our district. I know some of you have less, and it just really depends on what you want to focus on. So our pillars, as you can see from across the top, are service, quality, people, finance, growth, health, and safety. So we have our metrics set, what our score was from the year before, so the school year before, and where we want to go and we have our target, and then at the end of the year, we'll put our result in. The nice thing about this, if you'll scroll down, Brett, is you can then go in deeper and see how we measure different areas of the different pillars. So let's start with growth. This is an area that we really have been able to get some traction on. And what we have done over a 4-year period is check and grow our open enrollment. In the state of Wisconsin, students can open enroll to other school districts. And so we started tracking that. And we also decided that if we are an attractive school district, if we get the message out about our different programs, that we can attract students to our district. We are in, or have been, in a district of declining enrollment. And you know, declining enrollment dollars, they're all connected to each other. And so back in 08-09, we had an increase of 12% of our new open enrollment students coming in, a net gain of 12%. And you can see now over the years, as we have focused on this, and when I say we, it's the board and the superintendent agreeing on those goals together at the beginning of the year and then implementing those. So I go ahead and do the work, and the board backs me up on making those kinds of decisions. So as we focus on that, you can see we went from 12% to a 23% gain, 17%, 29% last year, and we got our open enrollment figures for this year when we did our student count, and it's up 33%, 99 more students. So very proud of that fact. The other thing that really helps drive our goals, it's not just about the superintendent and the board. Those goals all cascade down to my administrative team. So everybody on my cabinet, all the principals, all the assistant principals, we're all on the same page. We all know what we need to do. And I really think that's what helps drive these goals, is all of us together cascades down and right back up again. Let's go to finance. 4 years ago, I had the pleasure of hearing Chair Sodemann speak, actually, in another What's Right in Healthcare and Education. And they had a gentleman named Scott who was part of their whole business area maintenance. And he looked at metrics in a very different way than I would have ever considered. And I was really excited about this because I knew we didn't do this in our school district. And so I took some of what he did and started measuring some other kinds of things that we had never done in our school district before. So one of the areas we looked at was maintenance overtime costs. And you can see red is the year before, blue is the current year. And we really thought, let's see if we can save money. Let's see if we, a public education organization, can save money and be more efficient. And we found that we could make a considerable difference if we just started looking at and measuring these kinds of things. So we saved about $20,000, $30,000 this last year. If you go over to custodial overtime, too, take a quick look at that. We also measured electrical usage. Actually, I'll talk about that for a minute. We started measuring things that I never learned in school, therms and kilowatts and water usage. And the interesting thing about that is, first of all, we never measured it as far as I knew in the history of the School District of Janesville. We found some really huge problems in some of our schools of waste. Last year, we saved about $2.9 million just by looking at this and fixing some things. Custodial overtime costs as well. We had our supervisor of custodians start looking at costs as well of our custodians, and we have a full complement of custodians in our district. And again, you can see red is the cost from the year before, and blue is this last school year. And again, we saved probably about $30,000 just, again, looking at those kinds of costs. Now if you go over to quality. The other area that we look at really hard and intensely, of course, is student achievement. That's what we focus on most of the time, at least through my office, is driving our test scores up. And not only that, how well are our students achieving? So, if you would go to math scores just for our district. So over a period of 4 years, we have looked hard at how we can take our 10,000 plus kids and really start moving as a district-wide those test scores. It's in there somewhere. I think it's- So in the area of math, over the last 4 years, you can see that we've made steady progress. It hasn't been easy to change the whole culture of our district and to really look at how to make that movement, but we've made steady progress in this area, and we've added other measures. We use something called the MAPS measures. We have created our own measurement and assessment too. So we have measures that lead up to the test. So we've slowly increased. Reading, however, is a little bit of a different story. I think that's about that. We also made some nice improvements in reading, but this past year, as you can see, our reading rate fell a little bit. Again, the beauty of tracking this, about talking about this to the board and to our administrative team, is that we knew we have to do some really important work here. So right away, we developed a reading institute that we brought our teachers through this past summer, so we can again look at how we can move those scores up. Thank you. So, all in all, evidence-based leadership. It does increase accountability, it increases transparency, but the important piece, I think, is it's a way to drive results so your students can optimize their learning and get the kinds of results that you would like to achieve for your district. I'm going to now turn things back over to Bill Sodemann.